If you want to become overpowered in Wo Long Fallen Dynasty and do big damage to enemies and bosses, as well as make the game as easy as possible for you, make sure you're not making these 5 huge mistakes right now. The first big mistake is leveling up faster. So there's a way to level up faster that even I made this mistake a lot while I was playing and didn't realize it until later. And it may be simple to most of you, but as you can see, I'm fighting a regular set of enemies here. I finally get 16,000 XP in the bottom left hand corner. It's glowing yellow, so that means you have the option to level up if you just go to a battle flag and use your points. You can see I finally built up to 21,000 here. Eventually I die as I fall off the edge of something, and then I get my XP cut in half to 10,000 because you lose some when you die. So once your XP amount is glowing yellow and you can level up, the next battle flag you come across, make sure you jump in, level up, and use your points, because you can't lose points that you don't have. So make sure every time you get the chance to level up, you go ahead and spend points on something, and you can reset those points later if you want. The next big mistake is huge weapon and armor upgrades. This is by far the most OP thing in this game, and if you're not doing this, you need to do it, because it literally makes you double or triple as powerful in this game. Like, you have to upgrade your weapons. You can see my halberds here, my dual halberds, I've upgraded to 344 damage. Before they were like 150 before I upgraded them. So now I'm doing literally double the damage by spending a couple materials. And you can see the upgrade materials I have here. As you play the game, you naturally earn a ton of these. And you can see my armor here, it's got a lot of pluses on my equipped armor, meaning I've upgraded them and get a lot better defensive rating on them. So make sure you're going into the blacksmith, in the forge, and upgrading that armor. And you can see I also was able to get low equipment weight to make me faster. If you ever need specific materials, you can go into the map and find areas that give you those specific materials you need, but make sure you're upgrading your weapons and your armor both. Another big mistake is not using all your items. I found myself just normally playing the game and trying to use my melee and spells just normally as I was playing, and sometimes I forget to use my items such as my bow and my throwables. These are huge items that you can actually use, especially in scenarios like this. Now granted, I was going the wrong path, and that's why this battle was hard for me, which is why I ended up shooting the guy with the bow, but the bows and throwables actually do a lot of damage. So you can see, so once you unlock the crossbow and the repeater crossbow, those are obviously going to be the ones I think you're going to want to use, because they do an insane amount of damage. Now this damage scales with the water virtue phase. You can see here it increases ranged weapon attack. This is big because if you have a build for that, you're going to do a ton of damage that way. Also, I found trouble finding the repeater crossbow. If you ever don't have one of these ranged weapons, you can just go to the blacksmith and buy them. You can see selling the repeater crossbow right here, and the A+ damage buff for the water phase. The next is using battle sets. Battle sets make the game super easy. So once you go into the hidden village, you can talk to this guy in the little shack right here. You can actually reset your parameters, and you can reskill your character from scratch. So you can put points in whatever you want. The big thing about this is you can do it an infinite amount of times, and one character can get you as many builds as you would like. So if you're not using battle sets, once you're using your skills or you reskill a character, you can go into the battle flag. You can then go to battle sets underneath the battle preparation tab, and whatever your current setup is, skills, armor, abilities, and everything, you can just click on a new spot and actually save that here, and it saves your character just like you have it set up. So you can swap between a ton of different builds this way. So you can do a water phase build, a fire build, an earth build, and you can swap them out super quickly and make it super easy. Now, the one thing that isn't reskillable from my understanding are these spells. So once you select a set of spells, you're going to be stuck with them. But each time you gain 5 levels, you can select a spell from each category. So eventually, once you get enough levels, you're going to unlock every single spell there is in the game anyway. So that doesn't really matter. Another huge thing is finding and using usables. So sometimes while you're regularly going throughout the game, you see little loot spots, right? And I always grab them, but sometimes I see one and I'm like, I don't necessarily need it. This is why you need to grab them all, and this is why you need to make sure you're using your items. There are certain really important items that you can find on the ground in general. One of the most important items is the item that gives you 1 extra Dragon's Cure Pot, which is the Dragon's Vein Crystal. One of these is the item that gives you an extra healing potion. So you can see the Dragon Vein Crystal gives you an extra Dragon's Cure Pot, meaning each time you find one of these Dragon Vein Crystals and use them, you up your total Dragon's Vein pots at the bottom left by 1. So you can see I went from a max of 3 to 4. Eventually you go to 5 to 6 to 7. And if you don't check often, you could have one of these sitting in your inventory, not even know it, and not even use it for a while. There are a ton of boss fights that using one of these actually could have helped me out on, and I didn't realize I had it because I didn't check my inventory that much. And there's a ton of other useful items in here like Dragon's Cure Powder and other things you can use for specific boss fights. The final bonus item here, it's going to be really self-explanatory, but it's finding the route, literally. While I was playing this game, and you can call me a noob or whatever you want, but I would jump down in certain areas, and I would really only see one way to go. You can see I'm only a morale rank 1. This enemy is a morale rank 8. I didn't realize that there's another way you could go here on this mission, so all I did was go and try and fight this guy to get the battle flag. Eventually I did it, but it was way harder than it needed to be, and it literally took me like an hour just to kill this guy. I ended up finding the other way, and it was way easier. So make sure you're checking your ways and which way you can go, because if an area seems way too incredibly hard or difficult, that's because it probably is, and I've already made this mistake at least 3 times on 3 different missions. If this video helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe and watch this other video on the right.